right, everybody, I'm going to get started there now. And thank you so much for joining in with me today. I'm happy to see people wanting to learn a little bit more about VORTEK Spaces. And if you don't know me already, my name is Jill. I work in customer experience at VORTEK Spaces. So if you've done any onboarding, if you do any additional training, that will be all done with me. Again, I'm so happy to see you all here. And just so you know, during this session, if you do have any questions, anything like that, I have opened up the webinar chat for any questions to be left in there. There's also a Q&A section on Zoom as well that you can use to put in questions, and those will all be answered at the end. So for this session here today, I'm actually going to go into a little bit more in-depth training. So that would be features that are a bit more pro, I would say, more advanced training tips, as I can see attendees that have already done or already been using VORTEK Spaces for a little while. So I think that would be beneficial to just not spend too much time on the very basics of learning and just go over some more advanced techniques that could be very helpful while you're using VORTEK Spaces and making sure your designs are all complete and ready quick as possible. So with that, I am going to start sharing my screen and start us off with their presentation. Just 1 second there. All right. So as I said, I'm visiting you from VORTEK Spaces, and I'm so happy you all got to join in with me today for this additional training webinar. And so basically what VORTEK Spaces is here to do is help you take your wireframe, cabinetry designs, interior designs from that wireframe state into a realistic 3D rendering as quickly and easy as possible. So we want this to be without delay and no need to be a 3D artist. We want this to be intuitive for anybody to use, anyone that can use something like 2020 or Cabinet Vision. We want you to be able to also use VORTEK Spaces very easily and get those designs out and those deals closed. So we want also to have seamless integration with your cabinetry or design software, along with automatic project sync updates. So that would be that live update feature where you can make changes back in your design software and have that synced into VORTEK Spaces without having to start from scratch with your designs. Because we just want to streamline your workflow overall and make sure, again, you're securing those sales quickly and easily and being able to show your customers exactly what they're going to get and make them feel more confident in their choices. So also, we do offer lots of support with your subscription to VORTEK Spaces. So we are also constantly updating our features, materials, 3D accessories. If you ever have anything that you would really like to see in our catalog, we'd love to get that sort of feedback and see what's going to benefit you most to make sure that you're getting those designs completed. We also have free direct support with the VORTEK Spaces staff, so you can use our online chat, our phone number, or send us an email. You can reach out to me directly, whatever is best for you. We just want to be able to answer your design questions as quickly as possible. So with that, I am just going to start digging into our demonstration. So I do have a VORTEK Spaces design that I'm going to show you guys here today and just go through some of our industry standard materials, our 3D models, our lighting, and a video walkthrough. So I am going to focus a lot today on some more customization options. As I said, some more like advanced pieces, and also on lighting, because I know that's often ones that we get some questions on. So I'm just going to stop sharing the screen here, and I am going to open up my Spaces. Also, if there is any trouble with hearing me, with seeing the screen, anything like that, please feel free to just write that in the chat. All right. So now I have opened up our VORTEK Spaces design. So I just wanted to kind of start us off with a different, or kind of a few steps already completed. So you'll see that there is a little bit of materials. I do have some 3D models already added into this design, but that's just so we can spend a little bit more time focusing on some more advanced features rather than going through the very basics of the design from start to finish. 1 second there. All right, so once you open up your VORTEK Spaces design, you are always going to be in this materials section. So we have 4 sections that we typically are going to navigate through as we're doing our designs. That's going to be our materials, 3D models, staging, and visit. So in the materials, this is where you're going to make the selection for all the material surfaces that come in from that design software. Typically, your design software does not have materials made to be in a rendered state. You're going to want to change those over to VORTEK Spaces materials. As they're made to be rendered, they're going to have shine, they'll have texture. Some of these are really scanned in materials, and they just make a much more realistic effect. In the 3D models is where we'll add some more decorative pieces, make things a bit pretty, make it look like their real space, and just add a little bit of personality. And then in staging is where we start setting up our lighting and our sun, and that really is a super important step into making things look realistic, because you want to have those shadows to make it look like that realistic rendering. And then in visit, this is where we will set up our different viewpoints, just set up ourselves for a quick, easy way to communicate these designs to our clients. So under the materials tab that I am into right now, we always start off just applying some of the basic materials. So this would be things like to the flooring, and you'll see when I click on the flooring here that I've already went into our flooring tab and opened up one of our materials. And these materials can also be further customized rather than the designs that you see right here. You can also select on one of these materials and open up its properties on the left-hand side. This can be really helpful if you are dealing with something like custom stains. Say someone has a hardwood and they really want you to try and match the stain of the hardwood as close as possible so they know how their design, how their cabinetry finishes fall together with that. You can do this by selecting a material and then saying copy and edit over in the left-hand side. So copy and edit basically takes that material and then creates it as your own. You can rename this, so I could call it white oak with dark stain. Just call it something similar to maybe what I'm using in the shop. And then I have all of these different options down here that I can play with. This could be something like maybe I want to change the appearance. So I could come in and grab the mean color, and then I could start editing the color of that stain. So over here on the right-hand side, you can see how that's going to change to be whatever it is that I want to put in there. I can also use a hex code if I wanted to in here. And I can also change the smoothness, the metallic, and the texture intensity depending on the material that I'm working with. This is when I can start making things look a little bit more customized to what I want them to look like. The metallic is going to make it very shiny. Texture intensity is going to show that grain and the pattern in the wood. So that's a really helpful way to be able to customize these different materials to be exactly what you're looking for. And then you want to remember as well that if you do find a material or you customize a material and you think you'll use it again in the future, you want to say add to my materials, because that's going to save it to your catalog for future use. Otherwise, you're only going to have it in this one design. It's really helpful if it's something that you're going to use again in the future. Add to my materials, and then you can find it if you go into the root category, and under my materials, you will see that you have lots of different materials in here that you can name, you can add in. So this will be very helpful to try and get those customized materials. You can also further create folders in my materials if you have a ton of different custom finishes. Maybe you guys do a lot of custom stains. This is a great way to have maybe a folder specifically for wood stains, and then a folder for maybe paint finishes that you use all the time. So it's really important to just try and keep these organized so that you have that quick access in the future. So coming from that, I'm just going to jump up into our cabinetry materials and just give a brief overview of the cabinetry materials in general. So I will jump into the cabinets section and how I got back into this main root of the materials. By the way, if I click on, say, a flooring, we can see that I am in the flooring section here. I'm just going to click back to the root, and that will always just bring me to the main category where I can see all of the different folders that we can choose from. I am going to, again, select that cabinetry and go into the cabinets section. And in cabinets, you'll see things like Uniboard, Polytech, Agar, Prism, Tefisa, Phoenix. So this could be a really great spot to start looking into the different suppliers that you use. You can also type in the exact name if you know the name of the color that you're looking for, or you can start browsing in the specific folder. So I could come into Artificio line, and maybe I want to just browse into some of these high gloss finishes. And you'll see in here as well that I do have a heart on some of these colors throughout the materials catalog. These hearts are just things that I'm putting into my favorites for that quick access. Similar to what I just mentioned with the My Materials, I'm creating folders so that I have quick access to that in the future. And you'll hear me talk about this over and over again because it really does help speed up your workflow. And that's what you want when you're doing these renderings of VORTEK Spaces. You don't want to spend hours on a rendering. You want to be able to get these out quick and easy. So I'm just going to apply a material here, and we can jump up to our countertop and look through the different countertop finishes that we have. So we do have lots of options available in here: Caesarstone, Dactin, Polytech, lots of things to choose from. Again, you could search in the search bar. That's something I use quite commonly just to quickly find different finishes, especially if you've already settled on these with your client and they just want to see it. So you can quickly access it that way. Or additionally, if there is something that you're looking for and you don't see it in our catalog, maybe it's a brand new material, you can always import the image by using the import image button on the right hand side. So if I pressed import image, I had just took some screenshots in here, so I could import a different countertop like this, and you see that that comes in. So I'm going to be importing an image. If you want to see it directly from a website, what I would typically do is just go into something like, say, the Caesarstone website. You can go into their color catalog, and the best thing to do is to choose a full sheet if possible. So if I want to come in and get Empire White, we do have this in our catalog, but just as an example, if you were looking to get the full sheet there, you want to get that image. You see that it is like an 8-foot long sheet. I'm going to right click and say save as. And you want to make sure that you're able to save this as a web page. So you're going to save the image directly from the website. If you can't get the image directly from the website, another option is to try and actually just get a front-on view of the material and then take a screenshot of it. So that's also an option in there. But in the case that you import that image, you'll see that it comes in. It's not always going to come in seamless or to scale because it just came in from an image. In this case, I see that the rotation is wrong. I can see the sheet right here. So I've imported this image. It came in at the name that I saved the picture as. I can rotate it. I can go to translation, and this is going to change where it sits on the countertop. I know that a typical sheet here is probably going to be maybe 8 to 12 feet long. So I am going to change the scale of this, and I'm going to go down into scaling. And that's where I can drag the scale of this countertop, make sure that we can actually see it to scale. I could also compare it to what it is on the website, but you can really just add in whatever it is that you want into the space. This can be really helpful when you do find that there are things that we might not have in our catalog. Maybe it's outdated. We love for you to still send in that request to let us know what we should be including, but this can be a really helpful way for you to just quickly get that material into your space and show your clients exactly what they're looking for. So I've scaled this material. I've moved it around using the translation, and then I'm going to go to the Appearance tab, and this is where I can further customize it. So there is an option here called Make Seamless. That's really great to use if you are using an imported image. So I just pressed Make Seamless, and any visible seams should be removed at that point. And then I can also change something like the smoothness. So this is a porcelain or a quartz countertop, has a polished finish. So I'm just gonna make that nice and smooth. I can also add a little bit of metallic to make it extra shiny if I want. So that's some ways to be able to get a custom finish into the program without having to use directly from our catalog, but still send us over that information if we are missing anything. And like I mentioned in the other customization option, you want to make sure you go down and you say add to my materials if this is something you'll be using in the future, and now you have access to it. So moving on from that, I'll jump in and grab some backsplash. I'm gonna just click on that area there that was already separated, and I will go to our Siligo tag, tab. I really like this folder here. These materials are very realistic, very pretty. And I can just come and get maybe something like a standard tile. So I could go through and choose a tile here. If I also wanted to just have this countertop that we already added into the main area on that backsplash, the area that I can find that the quickest would be to just go into InDesign, and that's where I'm going to see all of the materials that I've already used in this space, and I can just apply it directly like that. So InDesign is a great tab if you're looking to just replicate something. And now that we have added material to both the countertop and that backsplash area, if I click on the countertop, you'll see that everything is in one group. So anything that has the exact same material added to it is going to be automatically grouped in VORTEK. If I wanted to change what is in this group, I can just press Control on my keyboard and exclude those two pieces from there, and then manually change the material, which would then put this into a different group. So for instance, I can come in here and I'll go and search up that aura like I was looking at before. And now that the two of those have two different materials, they're grouped separately. So that can be really helpful just to understand how everything is being grouped in VORTEK. Most of the initial groups that you have are going to come from your design software, but you can also further customize those within VORTEK Spaces if you want to. So we have some materials applied on here. We already have our flooring. We have some cabinetry. Now I want to show you another customization option. So on the ceiling, I'm going to show you how to do like a paneled board. This can also be really helpful if you're doing things like reeded back panels. I know those were very trendy for a little while there. So if I wanted to add a paneled ceiling here, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add it in a painted finish. So I'm going to go to our paint section. When I'm in paints, again, you can search by things by just searching up the name. Another option to search colors is to actually use this little color node right here, and that will help you just be able to search by different, maybe we want like an off-white. That'll help you to just find different options in that kind of realm. So I'll use this here. And now that I want to make this into a paneled finish, I'm going to open up the properties on the left-hand side and say copy and edit. In copy and edit, I'm again creating my custom finish. It's no longer this white kitten paint color. It's now a custom finish that I'm creating. So I could rename it to whatever I want. And then I can go to appearance. And there's an option here called switch to paneling. So with switch to paneling, this will be a lot more evident as well once we actually put in our lighting, but you can see it really quickly will show you these different paneling options for the ceiling. I like the V groove for the ceiling here, but like I mentioned, if you have something like a reeded back panel or a reeded hood or something with a slatted panel on it, this is a really quick way to get that into your design. And if you think that you'll use this design again, make sure you say add to my materials to add that into your catalog. So those are some customization options I wanted to go over when it comes to, some more advanced features in choosing your materials. And then I'm going to go into our 3D models tab. So like I mentioned, you first start off in materials and then you go into 3D models to try and make everything look nice and pretty, add in those appliances, some lighting, things like that. So the very first thing I'm going to add in is going to be our kitchen faucet and sink. And the beautiful thing about these is they're just going to cut directly through the countertop. So we have lots of options. We have farmhouse sinks, undermount sinks, top mount sinks. I am going to just scroll down and get one of these undermounts. You'll also see different color options. So these color options are just colors that specific model comes in. So you can toggle between the two of those. I'll add in this sink right here and just place it. And you see it just cuts directly through the countertop. Wherever I bring it, it's going to cut through that space. So it's really, really convenient that you don't have to do that ahead of time in your design software. And then I'm going to go and choose from our kitchen faucets. I like the ruby line here, so I'll come in and you'll see that in the models, similar to our materials, I'm adding favorites. So those favorites are going into this tab, and we'll come back to this because this is definitely something that helps me just get my designs together so quick. I'm going to go into kitchen faucets again, into Ruby, and here I see one of the favorites, so that could be a quick access one I choose from my favorites folder, or I can just start adding models directly in like this. If I add in a faucet or any type of model and I decide I want to change it out for something else, rather than deleting it and then adding in a new model, I can use this item over here, this tab called replacement mode, and that helps me just quickly be able to see different options in the space as well, which is really helpful for the preliminary phase of the design. And maybe I'll come and choose this one here. Just make sure that you unclick that tab afterwards so that you're not replacing that in the future when you're trying to do something else. So I've added that in. You'll see I already have some of my appliances in place here just for time. And I'm going to start adding in some more decor items. So I'll go into my 3D models and into our kitchen tab. I am going to add in some stools into this space, so you can definitely have a look through our different catalogs, see what you like, make sure you're favoriting things, and also creating groups, which I'm going to go through in just a second. So if I go through here, you'll see we have Article Bouclair, I see West Wing. So I'm going to go into these different options. Maybe I'll choose something from our West Wing catalog and choose one of these stools here. I want to create a copy of this stool across, and I don't want to add one at a time. It's just a little bit more time consuming. So a quick keyboard shortcut is just to press P on your keyboard. That's going to create a copy, and you'll see that's just duplicating that wherever I bring my mouse. I'm just going to add that in there. It added one too many stools for my liking. So here on the left-hand side, it immediately opens up the Properties tab, and you can change the spacing type. So for right now, I might just go to Number of Models and change that over to 4. This has already created a group of these models. So if I click on that, you'll see down here on the bottom, there is 4 stools already grouped together. If I want to ungroup any of these models, I'm going to press Control on my keyboard and select each of them, and now they can be individually moved, deleted, changed, replaced, whatever you like. But to create that group, again, I'll press Control on my keyboard and select each of them, and I have that 4-chair group at the bottom. This is something that you're going to want to get used to doing. If you use stools, if you use any models that can be used over and over again, definitely recommend right-click, say Add to my 3D models, and now I have that quick access to these models again in the future. Another area where you can use clone, and it can be very, very helpful, is going to be for your model lights. So not to be confused with lighting setup or manual lights. The lighting tab here is just for models in particular. So I'm going to come in and grab maybe some of our recessed lights. I do like to add some recessed lights into the space, but they could be very time consuming if I was placing them one at a time. So instead, that is when I would just come over, press clone, and you'll see that it will just put that string of lights. I can go to the model strip and change the distance between models and just see how many models I want in that space. And to copy and paste a design like this or a model group like this, I'm just going to press Control C, Control V, similar to other software that you're probably using right now. Just nice and intuitive way to copy over those designs. I can move all of these models directly with that arrow, and if I want to ungroup something, I just press Control and then press on that individual model, and now I can move that individually. I would like to also add in some more pendant lights here, so I'm going to go to this section, rattan pendant lights, for this design and have a look through. If I see something I like to try and favorite it as I'm going, and I'm just going to grab this pendant right here. Just for this application, I'm just going to put these in individually rather than using the clone, just to show you that if you do add things in individually, you can also still press Control, select all 3 so that it creates that group, and then over on the left-hand side, there's an option here called Align Selected Objects, and that's just going to make sure that all those are perfectly in alignment with one another, they're equally spaced out, and now they are all in a group. And if this was a model group that I think I would use again in the future, again, I would right-click and say Add to my 3D models. I know that I go on that a lot about the Add to my 3D models and to do your favorites, but I promise you it is just going to make every single time that you design in Spaces quicker and quicker. So that's why I always try to talk about that and just tell you the importance of making sure that you're creating those different groupings. For the purpose of today's demonstration, I also did want to show you that you can import your own 3D models along with the models that are in VORTEK Spaces. So if you had something really in particular, maybe you have a pendant, something like that you want to add into a design, you can say Import 3D Model, and I suggest SketchUp 3D Warehouse. You can create an account for free for SketchUp 3D Warehouse, so it's a really great opportunity to just go in there, browse through the tons and tons of 3D models that they have, and then you can download something as a Collada file just directly in their interface here. Collada file, download that into onto your computer, and you can say import 3D model down in the bottom right on VORTEK Spaces, choose a file, and then I could just come through and check something that I've downloaded from SketchUp 3D Warehouse. So that will help me just get really custom pieces into my design. Oh, that one didn't work there, but it just helps me get some different design elements in if I can't find them in VORTEK Spaces. However, I do try to tell people if you want to try and use VORTEK Spaces models first, because those are going to be the ones that have been through a testing process. They're really made for the rendering, whereas SketchUp 3D Warehouse, their designs may, some of them are great and some of them are not going to be so great, but it is always that secondary choice there. So I'm going to start adding some more design elements into this space. Everything is going to be categorized as the room that you're working in, which is really great for decor items. There's also going to be sections for things like mirrors, plants, some more generic categories. I'm going to go into the kitchen category for right now and add in some maybe small appliances. So I'll come through and there's gonna be some toaster. I love our Smeg appliances, so I'm gonna go grab those and add that on here. I'll go back and add in maybe a kettle in the same color, and I'm going to go into kitchen and go into our food section as well. This is a really big collection of food items, as well as some really nice pantry items if you are doing a pantry along with the kitchen. So you can have a look through. I always like to try and customize it to my client. If I know that they are someone that's really into coffee, I'll try and add a nice espresso machine, or if they have kids, maybe I'll put a half-eaten banana out on the table. So in this case, I'm going to add in a croissant and just place that there. And like I mentioned, with the stools and with the pendants, to create this group, you're going to press Control and then select all three of those items. You see it down here, and you will right click and say Add to my 3D models. And just to show you how that can really help just put a design together quicker, I'll go into that section that I have. So in Models, 3D Models, I have lots of different subfolders. So I have an area here for kitchen in particular, and in here there will be lots of items that I can just grab and drop. So I've made these myself. They are custom to me. I even have like glass sets that I could put into different designs. If I had some open shelving, I can add in some decor items like this just to fill up our countertop a little bit. Put in some just like different design elements, making everything feel really nice and complete. It definitely is very helpful to getting the design put together. And also when you are adding these items, just say that you want to rotate something. Really great keyboard shortcut is going to be pressing Q on your keyboard. So I just rotated this around, pressing Q, rotating a 45 degrees, or E at the opposite 45. So that's a very helpful feature there. And also if you wanted to mirror a model, like in this case, I want this to be mirrored, I'm going to open up the properties and go to scaling. And then you'll see you can click on this little icon here, and that is going to scale it in whatever direction that you want. So that's another helpful feature to be aware of to just get your designs put together. So I'm just going to go, as you can see in these different folders here, I have lots of design packages already put together. For instance, I even have some table setups already done. I have a round table, I have some rectangular tables. This can be really helpful to just getting our design looking like I put so much time into it, but realistically, it didn't take me much time at all because I already had it created. So I really do enjoy being able to do that. You can still replace things in these as well if you want to use the replacement mode afterwards. And one great way to be able to customize a design, for instance, if this table didn't really match what I wanted, but I like this setup, I can just, after I've applied this into the design, press Control and then press on the table. Now the table is individual. I can change it. So I can use that replacement mode that we were talking about before to look at the different design options that we have in here. So this can be really helpful to customizing the space, getting a design element in, but then still making it look more custom to the space that you're working in. So I'll just change that guy back there. Perfect. Okay, so that is for our 3D models what I wanted to show you. I do just really advise to use the keyboard shortcuts, use replacement mode, make sure you're doing your 3D models and you're definitely favoriting things, creating as many packages as you can. Like I even have sections for outdoor areas, I have plants, I have lots of different options that I can put into a design. You can see how it can just very quickly help it look like you spent so much time on the design when realistically you might have put it together in no time. Like I mentioned, you can even have the outdoor spaces there. So those can all be really helpful into getting it all put together. Oop. So if I wanted to add in something like this will help us just be able to look like we have a real complete set outdoors. I'm just going to move it out. And now, even from any angle, it looks like we have an outdoor space, which could be really nice. I can use this in many other designs as well. And once I have all of this put in place, I'm then going to move on into our staging tab. And in staging, this is where all of the lighting starts to come together. And I just want to focus a little bit on the natural lighting, because I know that if you've already played in VORTEK Spaces, you've probably seen the way that I would teach you in an onboarding session, which is going to be to initially set up your skybox, which is already done in this case. And then we're going to go in and set up our sky. The sky is very important, so the sun is very important, so definitely still want to advise you to use the sun to your advantage. That natural lighting, like in reality, is always the nicest. So I like to just make sure it's hitting a little bit of my cabinetry, looking over here to make sure I'm hitting my cabinets. And I'm just going to make it nice and bright. I like the nice bright sunshine. Maybe I'll make it a little bit warmer. So I set up my skybox, I set up my sun. Now if I look at the ambient light, there is no light in the space other than that natural light that's coming in. So that's when we add in our manually added lights. And like I mentioned in the onboarding sessions, I would have taught to just add a couple of lights onto the floor in some areas to make sure it's going to hit the perimeter cabinetry. And maybe I want to add one over here. I put them on the floor so I have an idea of where they're being placed, but then I can just select them. I see that they're all grouped together, they're all highlighted in blue. If I want to exclude something, I'm going to press Control. Similar to materials, similar to 3D models, Control is going to be able to group and ungroup things. And now I'm going to change this from a spotlight over to a point light. And once I've clicked that, I'm going to just lift them up, make sure I get some shadows on the underside of my cabinets to make it nice and realistic. And this is a bit bright, so I'm just going to change these settings here to make it a little bit less intense in the space. And then I'm going to start adding some additional lights into this design. Like I would like to have some light at the back of the island. I'm again going to change that over to a point light and just lift it up. Lift it up so that I have a bit of a shadow there. I'm going to change the radius. I'll change the intensity. I could also change the temperature if we wanted to. I'm just trying to get that little bit of a shadow under the countertop. And I also have this light. Oh, that got grouped on in there. If I wanted to exclude this, again, I would just press the Control. And then I have this light here that I can move around freely to get whatever kind of effect I'm trying to achieve with the lighting over in this space. But what I would consider more advanced tips for lighting is going to be things, well, you can also add in some lights directly for things like pendants so that you have that light shining down on your island. So as you can see the shadows here, I'm just going to toggle that on and off so you can see that the shadows are being cast. This is when I can change my intensity, I can change my range in there to get a little bit of shine directly on that space. But then I'm also going to add in some lights for the natural sunlight, which I think that just helps make everything look super realistic. So to do so, I'm going to add a light right in the middle of the window and then another one in this window here. I'm going to select Control to put two of those in a group together, and I'm going to rotate them into the design similar to how the sun would be shining into the space. And then I'm going to change them over to a point light. And with a point light, we're typically using the point light so that's that globe of light that shines everywhere. But instead, I'm going to change it to this 2-lamp industrial so that we are getting a little bit more of a different profile. So you can see that this almost has that cutoff in the middle. So that's just where the window is. This is the very top of the profile list. If you want to get even more in depth with the profiles, there are a ton of different lighting profiles, but this is the one that I would love to use for windows in particular. I'm going to just make this a nice warm light and maybe increase the range, decrease the intensity. So just playing around with this to see what kind of feels realistic to me and toggling it on and off to kind of see what kind of effect it's having on the space. So I really just want to achieve that little bit of warmth from the sun that would be naturally hitting the cabinet. So even in this corner here, you see that the sun is hitting here. So I think that's a realistic kind of shadow to be creating or light to be creating. And you can even go further with this and add lights to where you see light bouncing off of the floor. So for instance, right here, and then there's another bit of light shining over here. So maybe I want to add one there. These two lights, I'm going to mimic the natural sunlight. So I'm going to say a point light, and this one is just going to be shining everywhere. So I'm going to lift them up, not too high, because I want it to just be where that sunlight is hitting. I'm going to decrease the range and just make it nice and warm, because in reality, this sunlight is going to be making these cabinets a bit warmer than the cabinets over here. So that's what we're kind of trying to achieve with this kind of lighting. It just is a subtle effect, but it really can help make things feel a little bit more realistic in your design. So if you see that over here, gives that little tiny bit of warmth that I like to add into my space. So that is how I'm going to put my lighting here together. You also have your LED strip lights if you want to set those up. So that's that little strip option. These can be really quick and easy to put into a design. You just want to make sure, just a tip, come in about 1 inch from the bottom of your cabinets or the end of your cabinets before you finish and end the line that causes that light. It just helps from not choosing the wrong surface. And I'm just going to edit that by changing the range, changing the intensity, same as we would with other lights in our design. And that is how I would get a really realistic lighting effect throughout my space. And then once I'm done with those lights, I'm going to go into Visit. So Visit is where we're setting up all of our viewpoints for the design. Oh, I already had some in here. If you already have some, sometimes if you import from something like SketchUp, you might already have viewpoints in the scene. So if that is the case, you can always come to this crayon and then just select the different viewpoints that you want to omit. This one had a lot. So I'll just go through and select these and then press delete, and that's just going to clear that up for me. And now I can start creating my own viewpoints in this space. So I like to follow kind of a similar pattern every time. I like to do one overall shot for the very first. So in this case, I'm going to go to the eye. I'm going to actually just press this level camera to make sure everything's nice and plumb. I'm also going to click on this button on the left that helps me adjust my viewpoint. So now I can see that I'm getting a little bit of this over here. I don't really care to have that in the design. So I'm going to just get a nice overall view of this kitchen space and then press that plus button so that we get that first viewpoint. And maybe then I want to navigate to a more back on view, up a little bit higher. I'm using my mouse at the moment to navigate through here, but you can also use your keyboard. So if I use my keyboard right now, you'll see it's nice that it really just goes at this one level, keeping a very similar elevation. If I want to pan, I typically do use my keyboard actually. So if I wanted to press plus to add a viewpoint, and then I'm going to press shift and just pan across here so that we get a really nice straight line going across, and plus, and then you can use your keyboard to even try and just get really precise movements. So in this case, maybe I want to do one like this, and then I'll go back. And then I'm just going to do another overall to end off on this design. Maybe I'll go out a little bit further so they get the whole picture with that nice dining setup that we've created. And I'm just going to press the plus button again. So if I want to see what all these viewpoints are creating, well, first of all, that every time that I save my project, each of those viewpoints is going to be saved into my gallery as an image that's live with the product, with the project. So if I go back and change materials, if they wanted wood on their cabinetry instead, I press save. All of those images that get saved into my gallery are going to be updated to show the most recent version of my design. But additionally, we have that timestamp. So that's going to recognize that we're creating a video. If I want to see what my video is like right now, I'm just going to press play, and then you can see how everything is coming together. But of course, I want to add some more details, make it a little bit more interesting by adding some transitions. So I'm going to press stop. You can press stop or play at any time. And I will do the drag and drop system to try and edit this video. So I'm going to press the skip to next viewpoint and just drag this up, and maybe we'll just drag that right there. If I want to add speed, I can press the speed button right here and add that between viewpoints. and maybe I'll let that transition and add another speed. There's also a model drop-in option, which is really fun. So this will show all of the objects that are added into the scene being dropped into the space, which can be nice to just kind of show how everything is coming together. If I click on the object entrance animation, you'll see I have the duration. So maybe I want to change that to 4 seconds, just so that happens nice and quickly. And now I've edited this, I am just going to go back up to the very first viewpoint. You see how this one actually we are cutting into a little bit of we're cutting into part of the project. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and then right click and say update viewpoint. So you can do that at any point. If you find that something isn't right in your video, really quick way to just make a little tiny tweak is just to move the scene and then say update viewpoint. But right now I'll select the first one and press play, and now you can see everything falling into place. If there's anything of these models that you don't want to see falling into place in your design, you can also click on them, and in the 3D models or while you're adding them is a really great time to do it. And there is an option in the properties to say if they will or will not be included in your 3D animation. That can be really nice for things like windows and doors. Just say that you're doing a renovation and those aren't new elements to the design. Maybe that could be a nice feature to just keep in there so it's not dropping into the place. But people do love to see those objects falling in and just everything kind of coming together. And so now once we have this all together, I would just press the record button, and that is going to take a recording of my video, which would then be saved into my gallery and will be saved alongside the rest of my images here. If I want to share these with my client, I'm just going to press the crayon. And I would select the images that maybe I want to share with them, because maybe I don't want to share every image with my client, and then also the video, and I'm going to export it out into a client folder, just pressing on this button just down on the bottom right. And then I can share it with them either through Dropbox. I can use the images through email, but the videos themselves are going to be a bit too big. So you can share that through Dropbox, WeTransfer, or alternatively, you can also set up your YouTube channel with your VORTEK Spaces account. So you'll see that right here, YouTube, you can create a direct link. I find this to be really easy and quick, probably the best way for myself personally to share things with clients, because it just gives you a link and they can just access it directly from there. You can also choose to have that link private, so only the person with the link is able to see it, or you can set it so that's on your public YouTube channel. Really great way to quickly be able to share it to your social media, anything like that. And if you are using that to be sharing on social media platforms, we also have some video personalization options. So similar to what you can see behind me, we have a video intro and outro that would be a branding package that can be added onto your subscription. So I really like that package to be able to kind of personalize your videos, make them look more professional, and just increase brand awareness. And so if you have any more questions about the video personalization options, please just let me know and we can set that up for you directly there. You can also edit things like the soundtrack in this and also what is shown during the video. You can change the text, lots of customization options. So once all of that is completed, you're ready to go, and you can send this off to your clients. You can make sure that they see exactly what they're going to get with their design. They're going to see what their construction is coming together like. If they want to see some changes, it's really quick and easy. Like I mentioned, you can just change that on the spot and then press save, and all of that will be reflected directly into your design without having to go back and just do all of those images again. It will all just be reflected in your gallery automatically. So it really supports quick interaction or quick exchanges with your client, making sure that they can see those different options and just feel confident about their choices and what they are going to go with for their new renovation or new build. So with all that being said, I'm just going to stop my share there with you guys for 1 second. And if anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to just write those into the chat. If there's anything that I talked about here today that you are questionable on, if you would like me to go over something again, please just write in. I'm now able to see our chat there, so definitely feel free to message me there. And in the meantime, I'm just going to share over our screen here. So if you were interested in our branding option, this is the custom branding packages here. That's a one-time fee added onto a subscription. So then you would have your watermark on all of your images and videos, and you'd have your intro, outro on all of those videos that you have as well. A little demonstration here if you would like to see. So we would do this custom to your brand, of course. And additionally, if you have any questions at all, whenever you're using Vortex Spaces, always feel free to reach out to us. Go to our website on vortexspaces.com and you can reach us through the live chat here. If we're not available to answer you right away, we'll always get back to you as quickly as we can, but we want to be there for you. So reach out to us whenever you have any questions. Never hesitate, or we don't want you to try and figure things out on your own to take too much time off of your busy day. We want it to be quick and intuitive as possible. So with that, I'm just going to stop share and see if we have any messages there. And I don't see any messages in the chat or in QA. So that's perfect. Well, I'm happy if anyone has any lingering questions after the session, definitely feel free to message me. You can email me individually, of course. And I really look forward to chatting with you all and seeing what everyone designs. So thank you so much. And I hope you all have a great day.